which is us writing a message on the spot and injecting it to the already existing list of messages. If you remember, that's the bottom part here that I'm going to do now. Okay, so I'm going to go here. I want to separate this container maybe into another one. So if I put a div here just for the text box, input type text like this, and then a button, maybe button type button send. Now you can see here, I wanted to return two things from the component. I want to render the container for the messages and the container for the text box and the send button, but it doesn't let me because in JavaScript, you can only return one thing. Now, there are different ways we can approach this in React. One way is you could maybe return an array, make this an array of two things. That works, right? The first element is the container for messages. The second element, the container for the send and text box. Now, there's another better way instead of arrays, and that's using React fragments. Oh, actually, there's a standard way, which is just putting a div here and placing all of these inside a div. That works, right? The only downside to this, if you care a lot about a nested div, that's unnecessary. Like the problem with this is you got, if I open the DevTools here, I got the message container and I got the other one, but there's an extra div here that I don't really need. Some people really take issue with this. So that's why they created React Fragment. So if you don't want the div there, all you have to do is say react.fragment here. And make sure to close it the same way. So if you use react.fragment, what happens is there's no extra div there. If you inspect in the DevTools, you can return multiple things and there's no, you see, there's this and that inside the roots, and there's no extra div in between. So that's a React fragment to return multiple things from a component. Now, some people, you probably see this in a different name. Some people are very lazy, so they don't want to type React fragment. So they just said, okay, let's just have the tags be empty. And that's the same thing. Okay, so if you see empty angle brackets like this, it's just React fragment. Same thing. Laziness taken to the extreme, you know? Nice. So let's make this button here take over the whole, have better style. So I'm gonna do maybe class name for the send. Let's call it send box. I'll add some to the style.css send dash box class. I want that to take over the whole width of the thing. So maybe I'll do display flex. That's one thing. And then to the send box, assuming there's only one input, I can just put the input here. But that's not good practice. I usually want to use a class, but since we're just doing things quick, I assume there's only one input there. I'm going to say flex one. So it takes over the whole line. Now, the input is also, I like more padding because there's a bit, so maybe a little bit padding there. And maybe more. How about we do 8? Yeah. And the send button, let's do dot send box button. Assuming there's only one, I would ideally add a class to the button instead of targeting like this. Let's add some padding as well. Top to bottom, maybe 6 and then 12, like that. It's a little better. If you want to add some space, you'll touch up, it's up to you. We're just keeping it very draft-like here.